It's another day, left jab, right jab, this is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim, looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting, if you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go, I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show, this the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What's up, you guys? UFC Vegas 20. And, I don't know how you guys feel about this card, but I'm quite fond of it, especially towards the top of the card. The main event and the co-main event fights are really some high-level, high-caliber fights here, in my opinion. And these are guys that haven't really solidified their name in the game up until this point, but they're right there. They're knocking on the door, and this is a great opportunity for any of the four of them, but maybe particularly Ciryl, Gane, and Magomed, Ankalaev. Those are two guys that really have the ability to be, at the top of the game, in my opinion. So we'll be getting to those fights here. A couple other entertaining fights throughout the card, so we'll be getting to all of that. You guys know what we got to do first. We got to take a look at this last past card that just passed us. Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades, UFC Vegas 19. We'll start at the bottom. We'll work our way right up to the top. I'll let you guys know what bets I targeted and whatnot. All right, let's see here. Sergey Spivak looked very good in that fight. Handled business against Jared Vandera. Keep an eye on Sergey Spivak moving forward. This guy's really starting to put things together. Ayman Zahabi finally gets a victory here in the UFC. He has the name Zahabi, and it was good to see him rise to the occasion there and to represent the name of Zahabi. And he looked beautiful there, man. Got the knockout over Draco Rodriguez, a tough customer. Casey O'Neill, this girl, she really impressed me here. She's still undefeated. Casey O'Neill pushed the pace like no other against Shayna Dobson. From the moment the first bell rang, she was out there just running across the octagon, pushing the pace, and and she put herself out there, and she put herself in some dangerous positions, or she wasn't playing things so as conservatively as she probably should have. Was getting upkicked in the chin a little bit here and there, but you can tell that this girl's ferocious, and when she refines her abilities, she's going to be a true threat to the division. Still very young. And that's a good feather in her cap, taking out a girl in Shayna Dobson who was coming off a big win. Now here's where the action started for me. Julian Erosa takes out Nate Landwehr. This was a play of mine. Julian Erosa, I was all over him in this spot. I really hope you guys were as well, because I felt like this was easy money, especially where the line was. I grabbed him right around -105, and I think I even got him at pick-em odds as well. Julian Erosa had the reach advantage. We knew he was going to be way more fluid on the feet. I told you guys about his footwork and his underrated boxing. He rises to the occasion, at times, takes out guys like Jamal Emmert, Sean Woodson. I didn't see any reason why he couldn't take out Nate Landwehr. And a guy in Nate who I had money on him against Darren Elkins, and he did win that fight for me, but I was not really impressed with his skills. He's a tough customer. I felt that Darren was there to be hit a lot more in that third round, and Nate really slowed the pace down. He was barking a lot in that fight and whatnot, but Nate Landwehr is a guy that I would tend to fade, actually, and Julian Erosa is a guy that's underrated in my opinion. So that was a nice hit there. John Castaneda shows up against Eddie Wineland. Jared Gordon takes out Danny Chavez. So this was an L for me here. I did have some money on Danny Chavez. I was very, very surprised that Danny Chavez wasn't able to settle in and control this fight here. Jared Gordon did, just disrupt things, and he controlled this fight pretty much from start to finish. Danny Chavez had some moments in the first round, but got taken down in the second round, and pretty much was losing the fight at that time. And it was a little bit too late for his comeback, as he tried to in the third round. But little surprise, big shout out to Danny Chavez. We had him on the show. I think he's still a very talented guy. Jared Gordon did miss weight by 5 pounds, which I really wasn't crazy about that. I do feel like that had a little bit of an impact on the fight with his wrestling, and depending on what the situation was with that. But shout out to Gordon too, man. Gordon's a cool cat, and I'm a fan of his as well. Tom Aspinall takes out Andrei Arlovsky, does the Goldberg spear into a rear naked choke, one of the most beautiful finishes I've ever seen. And it was quite comical, too, because Arlovsky started to land a couple shots here and there, and then Tom Aspinall was kind of laughing it off. And then you saw, once he wanted to really do something, you saw what he could do. He just charged him, took him down, rear naked choked him. And he's showing, different, elements of his game. This guy's a danger striker. He's a nasty grappler. A lot of people don't realize that this guy has some real grappling abilities, too. Tom Aspinall is going to be a major threat to the heavyweight division. Okay, here we had some more action here too. Phil Haas against Nasruddin Amavov. I had action on Amavov. I thought this fight could have been a draw. Not going to complain about it. Amavov was very close to getting the finish in the third round. I was going nuts over here hoping he would get that finish. Phil Haas was just holding on for dear life this entire fight, just holding him against the cage. If this fight would have played out a lot more from the beginning, a lot more action, I think Haas would have been in that position that he was in the third round even earlier. This is a guy I will fade in the right opportunity. We saw what Julian Marquez did to him. Phil Haas has some real power, but he's very much muscle bound, and he starts to gas out in there. And Amavov made the mistake of sitting up against the cage for as long as he did, because he could have easily took this fight. Chris Daukaus gets the finish on the feet. Big shout out to Chris Daukaus. You guys know I'm a big fan of him and his brother. Shout out to Daukaus, taking out a legend in Oleinik. Oleinik, a guy we also had on the show, and much respect to him. But Daukaus, it's his time now. Derek Minner. This was an official play of mine, a plus 160 dog play. I was all over this. I hope you guys were as well. Great value here. Derek Minner, in my opinion, was the better fighter. Charles Rosa, in my opinion, gets a little bit overvalued at times with his lines. He has some good submission skills. He's tough, but Derek Minner, there was no reason why Minner couldn't have gone out there and did what we saw, Bryce Mitchell do to Rosa to an extent. We've seen Rosa controlled on the mat. I don't think Rosa is really the biggest threat in the feet to end the fight there. So, I thought Minner was really a solid pick here. Minner is very well-rounded, training with James Krause and the boys now, really elevating his game. And we also had him on the show. We've talked to him. Keep an eye on Derek Minner moving forward, too. How about the dog upset here, man? Yana really showed up, took out Ketlin Vieira, stole the fight in the last 15 to 20 seconds. If she didn't pull that reversal, drop those elbows, I think she loses the third round, loses the decision there. So that was a nice hit there. For anybody that had money on her, 2-1 odds. And then we had Derek Lewis. Now, I got the receipts to show this. I probably should have put my money where my mouth was and made this an official play, but I did throw a little bit of money on Derek Lewis. Of course, I was on Curtis Blades. I thought that, he would have controlled this fight with his grappling and whatnot, and I thought, it was a much safer picking Curtis Blades. I thought he should have won the fight, but Derek Lewis has that knockout power. He can end the fight at any time, and when I saw plus 300, I threw a little something on it at the end of the night. You have a few drinks, and, you want to kind of top the night off in a good way. So I should have made that an official play. But in retrospect, I really wasn't on it like that. I thought Curtis Blades would have used his wrestling and really grinded Lewis out. But you guys know how it gets, man. Towards the end of the night, you have a couple drinks and you see a value line like that. So I was really happy to see Lewis get that victory there. And man, overall, this was pretty much a stalemate of a card for me. I did have a play on Drakkar Klose. That fight was scrapped as well. Would have liked to have seen that fight went through because I think that Klose would have handled business and that would have been another W on the card. But ended up going 2 out of 4. So 2 wins, 2 losses, and got some good lines on those hits, and it's all good, man. We move on to the next card, and this is a card that I'm really expecting some good things from. And with no further ado, let's get into this big time card right here. All right, here we go, boys. And no, this is not a Guinness. This is a frappe. So I'm drinking on some type of coffee over here. It's early morning. It would be nice if I had some Guinness in there, but it's not a Guinness, just so you guys know. And we'll save those for later in the week at a later time in the day. But let's get right to this card, boys. Here we go. Starting things off, we got Dustin Jacoby taking on Maxim Grishin. Maxim, this guy, I really haven't been crazy about his performances since signing over with the UFC. A lot of you guys know him from PFL. He was over in the PFL for quite some time. And, some people were expecting some things from him. He's a well-rounded fighter. But really, in my opinion, hasn't shown anything. He had the loss to Tybura, very lackluster match. And then, he did get the finish over Antigulov, but that's a guy that everybody's basically finishing. And even in that fight, I felt there was some things he could have did better. Maybe I'm being a little bit critical on him, but just overall, haven't been too impressed with him. Now, Dustin Jacoby, is a guy that I've been very impressed with as of recently, ever since he's had this resurgence in his career. A lot of you guys know he went over to the kickboxing scene, took a lot of time off, really added a lot of weight and size to his frame, and it's been looking great. As you see him, putting some work on Justin Ledet, which he really put a beating on Ledet there. And, obviously the performance that he had on Dana White's Contender Series was very impressive as well. That was against Ty Flores, who is, he's a formidable opponent in his own right. Then went out there, took out Justin Ledet. I don't see any reason why he can't go out here and handle business against Maxim. I think that he should be able to keep this fight standing where he'll be the better striker. I think he'll be more aggressive. I think that, I think he'll be more aggressive and he'll put a lot more output out there. And I'd rather have my money back in Jacoby here than Grishin, even though, you see the line plus 140 on Grishin right around there right now. If you're thinking you're getting some type of value, I'm not necessarily crazy about what I'm seeing there. You see him tagging up Tybura here, but if you remember that fight, man, it really didn't look much like this, throughout the entire fight. So, I'm on Jacoby here, Dustin Jacoby. I like what I've seen, and I think that he can string off another victory here. And just want to pull up the live line here because you guys know Tapology sometimes is a little behind. And Dustin Jacoby right now is right around minus 185 with a little bit of money coming in on him, depending on what book you're working with. But I like Jacoby here. I would have liked to get this line, on a little bit of the lower side of minus 185. But, you keep an eye on that fight right there. All right. Moving on to the next fight, we got Ronnie Lawrence taking on Vince Cachero. Ronnie Lawrence, as you guys know, had a big upset on Dana White's Contender Series. Took out, I think his name was, what's his name? Jose Johnson, a guy that's a very quick-twitched, nasty striker who a lot of people were hyping up and a lot of people were backing him. Ronnie Lawrence went out there, used the wrestling, showed some very well-rounded skills, and he was able to break him there. So this is a guy, he's 6-1, but, he looked very mature inside the octagon that day, if you guys remember that fight. This is a guy, he trains with some good dudes I think he trains over at Sunrise, right? Sunrise, American Top Team, doesn't say it here. Not far from me, though. I've seen him putting some work in over there. I'm familiar with some guys that train over there, and those guys really got some things going on. There's some big names that come through there and that stay over there. And so Ronnie Lawrence, 6-1, don't let that deceive you. This guy is pretty mature for where he's at in the game. Vince Cachero did not have an impressive performance against Jamal Emmers. Jamal Emmers is a very talented and underrated fighter, in my opinion. So, be careful with putting too much value into that loss there. But did not look good in that fight. Got pretty much picked apart by Jamal. Vince Cachero, 7-3. So the experience is pretty much, just about even here. Ronnie Lawrence with a 2-inch height advantage and a 2.5 reach advantage. I do think that Ronnie will be able to mix things up here, and I think that he should be able to edge out a victory. Vince, coming off that loss against Emmers, before that had a victory against Marvin Garcia over in LFA, and then had 2 losses before that as well. Lost to Casey Keeney, got finished there. Wasn't overly impressed. You run the tape back on Vince, not overly impressed with anything I've really seen. So this is a big fight for him. He needs to go out there and get a victory here. Otherwise, I don't know. If he'll be hanging around much longer. So this is a big fight for these guys. Ronnie making his UFC debut. I like Ronnie Lawrence here. Like I said, he really rose to the occasion in that fight on Dana White's Contender Series. I think he's a little bit more of the well-rounded fighter, and I think he could use the grappling. I think he can push Vince up against the cage. He can kind of wear on him, and he can take a decision here. It looks like a little bit of money's coming in on Vince as of recently, but that's understandable because minus 170. That might be a little bit on the high side. I think it should be more around minus 145, around that range right there. But we will edge Ronnie Lawrence to take this fight. And there he was, getting the big victory. And I'm sure a couple of you guys remember that fight. For those of you guys that were just tagging some favorites there, I know he spoiled some of your guys' parlays, I'm sure. I think I even had a little parlay on Jose, so I'd be one of those guys as well. And I really wasn't expecting, what the performance that he delivered that day. So, he was low on the radar, and now he's pretty much shown what he's about, and I think he can go out there and get this victory. All right. Now we got some exciting fights that I want to talk to you guys about. There's Emmers landing the elbow. Also, man, we were supposed to see Emmers throw down this past weekend. So, of course, unfortunately, that fight wasn't able to happen. Hopefully, they reschedule that bout or figure something out for Emmers moving forward. That's a guy that really has some good abilities. All right, this is an awesome fight here. Alonzo Menifield taking on William Knight. This guy William Knight has really bursted on the scene, in my opinion, and has a little bit of an interesting resume. So if you guys remember, let's see, where was it? Was it the Cody Brundage fight? Right, that was a fight that he was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. He definitely gives up position. He gives up takedowns and gives positions that he really shouldn't, but he has this freak type of ability where, he could be flattened out and he'll grab you by your arm. He'll double, baseball bat your wrist and he'll literally rip you over him. This guy has some freakish strength. If he gets on top of you, can easily shut your lights out. Some crazy power in the hands. So he did come back and get that victory. That was a last-minute comeback, in my opinion. If you guys remember correctly, it was basically a third-round comeback where he needed that finish. So really rose to the occasion there. Then takes on Alexa Kamer. That was a fight that, Kamer has a lot of hype training with Stipe Miocic and those boys. I thought Kamer would be able to be the more technical fighter and put Knight in some bad positions. Like I said, Knight is not the most technically sound fighter, but has these freakish abilities. And when I say freakish abilities, they're really freakish. So he gets away with a lot of stuff, and I'm really starting to back him up here. I'm starting to get on his side. That's why I'm going to take him here to take out Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield coming off a disappointed performance against OSP. That was a play. I faded him. That was an official play in OSP. Got those dog odds. I was very happy about that. Lost to Devin Clark. He was able to be controlled and nullified in that fight as well. Menifield has some serious power himself. We do know this. We've seen him on Dana White's Contender Series where he made a name for himself. But coming off those two losses, he really needs to get a victory here. And I like Knight here. I think that Knight. All right, check this out. So Knight is a guy also. I talk about his freakish abilities, this and that. The power he has. This is a guy that got into the MMA game late as well. So this is a guy that I really think as he refines his skills is going to be. He's going to have even a higher ceiling than Menifield has. I know Menifield got in the game a little bit late as well, but I'm just a little bit more intrigued and excited to see, how Knight's game will round off more so than Menifield's. So that's how I feel about that. And the line is there for the grabbing if you do like Knight. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you guys that are on Menifield as well. These are two big boys. Anyone can get their lights shut out, that's for sure. If Menifield connects as well, obviously he could win this fight. And of course, anybody can get knocked out in the fight game. But when you're talking about light heavyweights with the power that both of these guys have, it does increase the chances that we see something like that. So obviously you got to take that into account as well. But yeah, William Knight, right now 32 years old. As far as I'm concerned, that age, it's going to be a little bit skewed because, like I said, got into the game late, doesn't have a lot of damage on the body, not a lot of miles on it. This is a guy that's going to be hitting his prime. I've been saying this about him for a while. He'll be hitting his prime right around probably 35, honestly, 34, 35. So we just keep an eye on him, and we'll take a look at the live line here. It's still right around it's a pick'em. It's just about a pick'em here. So I do like William Knight to win this fight. And, don't be surprised if William Knight also is able to use his strength in wrestling, not so much technical wrestling, but his strength as far as his wrestling, holding Menifield against the cage too. I think he might control those positions, which will also look good for the judges. Menifield has a 3-inch reach, obviously a little bit taller as well, but I don't really see that being too much of a factor. Knight is going to be pretty much smaller as far as his height goes. Than any of these guys in the division. Obviously, he's built. He's very stacked. He's short and stocky. And I like William Knight to win this fight here. We got a women's flyweight bout here. Sabina Mazo taking on Alexis Davis. Alexis Alligator Davis. She's been in the game for a long time. Still hanging around. 36 years old. A crafty grappler. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I do believe. And a girl that she's got away with her using her grappling on a lot of these girls throughout her career. Now we got, the new age fighter and Sabina Mazo, 23 years old. Sabina Mazo is a girl I've been very high on, as you guys know. Had an official play on her against Justine Quiche in her last bout. Like I said, very well-rounded. She has good power. She can go in there. She can finish you. I really like the training that she gets over at King's MMA. You guys know I'm very high on Rafael Cordero. And, on a 3-fight winning streak, took out J.J. Aldrich, took out Shayna Dobson as well. The loss to Marina Moroz, that fight was pretty close. Kind of dropped the ball there. But, look how young she was at the time, too. We're talking about a girl that was 22 at the time. This girl is really going to refine her game throughout these next couple of years, and this is a girl we will be talking more and more about. Going into this fight, she has a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. She'll be a little bit more rangy here. I want to see Sabina keep this fight on the feet. I want her to keep this fight off the mat. I don't want her playing any type of grappling games with Alexis here, and I want her to use her striking, and I want her to hurt her. I think that's her best avenue to a victory here. And, where on the other hand, Alexis Davis, I really think she's going to have to mix things up and be very crafty in here and use her experience to drag Mazo down to the mat, and make this a grinding type of affair. But, saying all that, I just think that Mazo is creeping up. Well, I shouldn't say creeping up to her prime. She still has a long time until she gets there, but I think that she's more in her prime than Davis is. I don't know where Davis is at in the game. At this point in time, she's had, what's she have now? 29 professional fights. She's been around the game for a long time, 36 years old. It's not necessarily that old, but, coming off losses to Vivian Araújo, Jennifer Maia, Caitlin Chikogian, which is not bad talent either. Not losing to horrible fighters, but, I don't know. I just really don't see it, in my opinion. I like Sabina here. Again, though, this is women's mixed martial arts. A lot of these fights do play out closely. You got to be careful at times. Sabina is a pretty big favorite here. And you take a look at the live line. Like I said, don't want to rely too much on Tapology. They've been dropping the ball a little bit. And a little bit of money coming in on Davis here. But the line settling in right around minus 235. Decently high. So you're not really getting away with anything if you're trying to attack Sabina here, in my opinion. It's a pretty much a juicy line there, but I do like Sabina Mazo to handle this fight. Hopefully she's still working on her takedown defense and whatnot, and she has some skills down in the mat as well. So let's not make it seem like she can't handle business on the mat as well. It's just that Alexis is very crafty down there. I think that the easiest path to victory here is for her to use her striking, and I like Sabina to go out there and to take this fight. Also, guys, if I'm kind of lagging over here with my audio compared to my video, I'm going to be working on that. I'll have that fixed. I know it's been doing that in and out. Was working with some new type of stuff here. And I'll make sure I get that fixed. Hopefully that's not too much of a nuisance for you guys. I hope the audio quality at least sounds better. But that is something that I will get fixed here, hopefully by the next video. So I hope that doesn't bother you guys too much. If you guys want, give me some feedback in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that. And on to the next fight. We got Alexander Hernandez taking on Thiago Moisés. Alexander Hernandez has really put things together, in my opinion, over the last couple fights. Of course, you guys remember, he had that short notice fight that he stepped in on, took on Beneil Dariush, one of the best fighters in the division, got the knockout. But then, had the major setback to Donald Cerrone, and also did get another victory against OAM there as well. Then had that big loss to Donald Cerrone where he got outclassed. Got the victory over Trinaldo. That was a fight that he should have lost, and he was very hesitant. Wasn't pulling the trigger. But then got knocked out against Drew Dober. But the fight that really impressed me was this Chris Grutzmacher fight, which I get it. Chris isn't the biggest name in the game, kind of a journeyman from The Ultimate Fighter. But the way that Hernandez looked out there, I kind of believe him when he says that he's had a little bit of a resurgence in his training and in his overall game. That's what he's been saying, and he looked amazing in that fight. Went out there, got the knockout, looked very fluid and very aggressive on the feet. Only 28 years old, so there's no reason not to believe that this guy's game is going to change and evolve in there. Thiago Moisés, the dangerous grappler, Thiago Moisés is a guy, we saw in the Michael Johnson fight, you could be picking him apart, beating him up, but, he could he can Amanari roll and grab a hold of your leg and submit you. He could submit you in a variety of ways. He has some good grappling as well. He could take your back. He can control you. I'm going to give the edge to Moisés on the mat. I think Hernandez will be stronger with the wrestling and whatnot, but Moisés will be a little bit more tricky with the BJJ. So don't be surprised if you see him, wiggle out or pull some type of transition or reversal and take a back or something like that. He's very crafty down there. His striking, he's been working on his striking, but I think that Hernandez will have a lot more power in there. He'll be more dangerous in the feet. Like I said, he's been looking good as of recently. And this is a big fight for Hernandez. If his head is right and he goes in there to handle business and he's confident and believes in his abilities, this is a fight that he should go out and take. He should go out there and take Thiago Moisés out. As far as the line goes, we'll take a look at the live lines. Right now we have Alexander Hernandez right around -190. It's reasonable there. I would cap this fight right around that, -190. Thiago Moisés hasn't really shown enough to me on the feet. I don't expect Moisés to win the striking exchanges there. Hernandez should be stronger in the clinch, should be able to push him up, press him against the clinch, use the wrestling. Has to avoid the submission, like I said, and also has to avoid being reversed or put in a vulnerable situation with the grappling, have his back taken or something like that. Other than that, I think Hernandez should go in there, and I think that Hernandez should handle business. And, Moisés, a lot of people were saying he should have lost that fight against Bobby Green. Before that, took out Michael Johnson, lost to Damir Ismagulov, Kurt Holobaugh. Not a lot of big victories there in his resume. Hernandez will have a 1.5 inch reach advantage, and I think there's some things pointing towards Hernandez's way here in this fight. All right, this is a cool fight here. We got Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy taking on Kevin Croom. Both guys who I've had on the show, I've had the pleasure to speak with. Let's start off with Kevin Croom. Kevin Croom, he came in and it says it's a no contest or whatever that this is trying to say here. Obviously, we know this should be a green W. I believe that they overturned it or whatnot. Might have been due to marijuana or some type of drug thing, but nothing that was really performance enhancing. Kevin Croom is an awesome dude. Stepped in, took that fight on short notice, shocked the world. One of the biggest upsets we've seen in a little bit, and knocked out Roosevelt Roberts, a guy that has so much skills, Roosevelt, but continuously drops the ball with his fighter IQ. We've seen him, go down to the mat with guys like Jim Miller and this and that, but very talented on the feet. Kevin Croom tagged him, hurt him, snatched up a neck, and getting to know Kevin Croom and being able to chat it up with him, I'm very happy in retrospect that he won that fight. Because this guy's an awesome dude, and you'll be seeing a lot more of him as far as MMA Live discussion and Instagram Live interviews and stuff. He'll be hopping on. I've hopped on his one time for a fight. He goes live for the fights a lot as well, and joined him for his fights. He's a really cool guy. I was just chatting it up with him not too long ago. He was getting training in with James Gallagher, who was visiting over there with Krause and the boys. You guys know how high I am on James Krause and what they got going on over there. You saw it again with Minner. Minner rises to the occasion. His career is right on the tracks right now. It's moving. James Krause, everybody he steps in there with just continuously wins. So keep an eye on that. Alex Caceres is a guy that's really evolved his game as well. His striking has came around. He's only 32 years old. He's probably in his prime right about right now. He's been around the game for a long time. If you guys remember him, man, he was in those little those backyard type of fights over in Miami. I've chatted up with him about it. An interesting character to say the least. I've had him on the show. He's an interesting cat. Nothing but love and respect to him as well. And he's coming into this fight as a pretty big favorite, which is a little bit surprising to me. I think that people are sleeping on the abilities of Kevin Croom. I think that if you go through Croom's resume, you start to realize, he's had a lot of fights. He's had a lot of losses, a lot of victories too. But this is a guy that has some good skills. He's a dangerous fighter. He can crack you. He can submit you. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's a dangerous guy. And I think right now he's more confident than ever. And I don't see any reason why he can't go in there and pull off a victory against Caceres. That being said, I did say, man, Caceres has really evolved his game, and he's in his prime right now. His striking has been looking very good. He's been controlling the distance. Very good on the feet and good footwork. using good footwork and whatnot. And obviously, I could easily see him going out there and handling business as well. But I'm gonna say that there's probably a little bit more value on Croom here around a line like that. Plus says plus 180 in Tapology. We take a look at the live line right now, and we're talking about Alex Caceres right around a minus 230. So which is they're accurate here. So I think the value is more so on Kevin Croom, and honestly, pretty much straight up, I think that Kevin Croom's going to show up and deliver a fight. I think this fight can probably go any way, and I think that Kevin Croom's going to pull off the victory here. I'm on the dog here in Kevin Croom. And their statures are pretty much the same. Both these guys 73-inch reach. Caceres has a half-inch reach, and these guys are very, very similar physiques. Very, very wiry, long frames, and they know how to use it. With their grappling and their striking. So, this will be a good fight here. All right, we got Angela Hill taking on Ashley Yoder. Fight taking place for the second time. Angela Hill, obviously the split decision loss queen. That should be her nickname, man. She gets the bad end of a stick on a lot of these fights. I thought she took out Claudia Gadelha, very close fight. Michelle Watterson, I thought that she kind of lost that fight. It was a close fight. Obviously, Angela Hill has really, really evolved her game, over the last year, couple years or so. 35 years old, but she's how do you want to say that? She's really hit her prime a little bit later in her career. She's another girl that got into the game late. She's pretty much grew up in the UFC. You take a look at her record, 12-9, very deceiving record, because all her fights were against top talent, in the UFC. One thing you got to take a look at here, she is going to have a significant reach disadvantage, but Angela Hill, on the feet, she can strike with any of them. And I expect her to have the better striking here against Ashley Yoder. As far as the grappling goes, I think that Yoder may have the edge there. I think Yoder is going to want to try to make this into a grappling bout, maybe try to mix in some takedowns, make this a scrappy type of fight. We saw her do that in her last victory, right? She took out Miranda Granger and pulled off the upset there. She was able to keep taking Miranda down. And Miranda's a girl that I think is a little bit less experienced in the fight game and didn't really know what she was doing in there compared to a girl and Angela Hill. That's she knows how to use the footwork. She knows how to avoid getting taken down and controlled like that. Being in there with the level of talent of opponents that she has. So I do like Angela Hill here. I think Angela Hill should show up and get the victory. We take a look at the line. Angela Hill is a pretty hefty favorite here. Line coming in right around, let's pull it up here, right around minus 300. So, but I get it because I think that this is Angela Hill's fight to win. I like the work that she gets in with her coach over there, and they put out some really cool content. If you guys have seen some of those comedic videos they put out, man, there was a really good one making fun of Stephen A. Smith. I recommend you guys check that out. But again, went to war with Claudia Gadelha. I thought she edged that fight out. So she's been in there with some good talent, and I expect her to go out there and take out a girl in Ashley Yoder, who really is Ashley Yoder. Is a girl that really is on the bad end of the stick a lot of times, and her fights makes some bad decisions and loses a lot of fights like that. And this fight, y'all, I need to set the record straight. Neither of us knew we were going to fight until today. And this was a fight that was recently put together. I guess there was a little bit of controversy. And Ashley Yoder, always a good follow on Instagram as well. Yoder. But I'm on Hill all day there. Maybe you want to mix that up in a parlay or something. I think Hill should handle business there, unless she makes a mistake and Yoder takes her back or something like that. That's really the only way I see Yoder winning this fight. I don't really see Yoder winning this fight on the feet or anything like that. All right. We got Pedro Munhoz taking on Jimmie Rivera. And this is a fight that already happened a while back. And Jimmie Rivera came out on the better end of that. It was a split decision victory for him. Also, I should mention, too, just for some information on that last fight, too, as I mentioned, Angela Hill and Ashley Yoder, they actually, that's the second fight for them as well. I should mention, of course, Angela Hill did prevail the first time they fought as well. That was back in 2017. That was on the an Ultimate Fighter finale, I believe. Just to touch upon that as well. But so this another rematch here, and like I said, Jimmie Rivera came out in the better end of the fight the first time. These guys threw down, and a lot of things have happened, and now they're fighting, and I think this is an excellent rematch right here. Pedro Munhoz coming off that loss against Frankie Edgar. A lot of people felt like he should have won that fight. Really did a lot of damage to Frankie in that fight. But if you really break it down from a round by round analysis, you could, in my opinion, you could see how Frankie won that fight. But Pedro Munhoz looked dangerous on the feet. You see his game evolving. An awesome dude. I met this guy not too long ago. I had the pleasure of throwing some beers back, watching BKFC right next to him, chatting it up with him. And a really, really cool dude, man. Really an awesome guy. If you ever bump into Pedro, this guy, he'll say what's up to you, man. This guy is not cocky in any stretch of the imagination. But back to the fight here. This was a fight he could have easily got the W here. A very close fight. It was a big fight for him. Before that, he lost to Aljamain Sterling. We know Sterling has really been putting it together, and that was a fight where Sterling was on the back foot, and Pedro was charging him around the octagon. So Pedro, the young Punisher, is a very, very tough guy who's gonna give you a run for your money if you have money backing him up. I mean, if you remember that fight, Pedro is no pushover. Has an amazing guillotine. If you make any type of mistake in there, you put your head under his arm, man. He'll easily choke you out. We've seen him do that time and time again. Like I said, the striking has came around. Jimmie Rivera, very interesting character. This is a guy I was very, very high on back in the day. Ended up getting knocked out against Marlon Moraes. Then he took out John Dodson in a closely contested match. Lost 2 fights in a row to Sterling and Jan. Look at the level of talent of those guys. We're talking about 2 guys that are fighting for the belt here coming up. And then you saw what he did against Cody Stamann. The Cody Stamann fight, I've been really high on Cody Stamann, so I was impressed with Rivera's resurgence in that fight. I really felt like he gathered his self together and really rose to the occasion. He's very technical on the feet, nice calf kicks, nice boxing, very crisp with his technique there, good wrestling abilities. And again, let's not forget, Rivera was one of the top prospects back in the day, one of the top fighters in the game, put together an excellent resume even before coming over to the UFC. So this is a guy, like I said, I think he's having a resurgence here in his career. He did take out Pedro the first time that these guys fought. It was a close fight. I do believe that Pedro Munhoz is a much better fighter than he was back then too. So we have a lot of different X factors here. I think Munhoz is very, very hungry to pull off the victory. Rivera's going to have a 3.5 inch reach advantage. I think he could use that with his boxing. He wants to keep Munhoz on the end of his punches and use his footwork. He has great takedown defense abilities. I think he can keep the fight standing if he wants to. And I think Munhoz is going to try to make this a brawl. I think that's what he should do. He needs to clip Rivera. We've seen Rivera's chin tested at times. I think that's more of his path to victory. Otherwise, I think that Rivera comes in and he pulls off the victory here. But I do think this is a closely contested matchup of 2 of the top fighters in the division. But again, I think Rivera has more of a path to victory here. Like I said, coming off that victory against Stamann as well, looked very, very impressive in there. I like Rivera's boxing. I think he'll have the edge with his hands as Munhoz looks for that big shot. And like I said, watch out for the submission skills. Munhoz, if he hurts Rivera, he will snatch something up and pull off that submission. So Munhoz is hungry for a victory. Let's see if he could do it. As far as the line goes as well, right around minus 150. It's pretty much that's an accurate line there. You gotta give the guys credit for this is a very accurate line. As far as if I was leaning one way or another, I would say I'm leaning Rivera even with the slight favorite line there. I don't know. My gut kind of tells me Rivera will show up and pull off the victory there. All right, we got Montana De La Rosa taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva coming off a nice armbar victory over Mayra Barella. Looked good in that fight. Snapped the armbar victory there. The armbar submission. Has been looking decent on the feet as well. Another talented Brazilian women's mixed martial artists in the fight game. There's so many of them these days. I mean, come on, how can you even keep track of all these different girls, man? They're really swarming the game. Then you got Montana De La Rosa. coming off that loss against Viviane Araújo, another talented Brazilian fighter. Montana De La Rosa, that was a tough fight for her, man. She really got butchered up, was bleeding a lot in that fight. You know that she's been training over with Elevation Fight Team. She's been working on her striking. That's something that a lot of people have been talking about, with her camp and whatnot. But she didn't look that impressive to me on the feet. She was on the back foot a lot, and I understand when you have a broken nose and you're bleeding everywhere, it's not necessarily so easy to start walking down your opponent. But I do feel that fight was there to take if she would have stepped up a little bit. But you could tell she was feeling the pain there. Only 26 years old. She is the wife of Mark De La Rosa, UFC fighter. Not sure if he's still signed, but she's always getting great training from a guy like that who's a whiz on the mat. Guy's a nice grappler. I believe he may be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So Montana De La Rosa does have some grappling abilities, of course, as well. She just looks a little slow in there, man. You watch her fight after fight. She's a little slow to the punch, a little slow to her transitions. And I think that Mayra Bueno Silva might be a little bit quicker here in all aspects of the fight. And, looked very poised in her last fight. And I'm going to slightly edge Mayra Bueno Silva to win this fight. Like I said, beautiful armbar against Mayra Romero Barella, who may be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt herself, but a girl that has a lot of abilities, but who never really shows up. And Montana De La Rosa also has a victory over her as well, I do believe. And yes, that was in her last fight, the fight before the Araújo fight. Lost to Andrea Lee before that. Took out Nadia Kassem, not that big of a feather in her cap. Rachel Ostovich, not that big of a feather in her cap. And again, a lot of you guys remember her from The Ultimate Fighter, but she needs to get a solid victory on her resume. This is a big fight for her. Not that Mayra Bueno Silva is the biggest victory that you can get in there, but this is a victory that's much needed for Montana De La Rosa. But again, I just feel that Bueno Silva will be a little bit quicker to the punching, a little bit quicker to her transitions or her submission attempts, and I think that she has a couple different avenues to win this fight. We will see. Montana De La Rosa has been talking about all this, the striking work that she's been working on. We'll see if she can showcase her striking abilities here and maybe get a victory. But I'm going to have to see it play out before I'm going to back her here. So in the meantime, I'm going to pick against her. And the line is it's a pretty close line. And again, this is a fight that could easily play out closely. So it's not like I'm expecting dominance from Bueno Silva or anything like that. But big fight for Montana. All right, these fights right here. These were the fights that I said from the beginning that I'm the most excited to talk to you guys about. Nikita Krylov taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Two fighters that are some of the top guys in the division, in my opinion. Some of the top talent. Nikita Krylov, 28 years old? This is a guy that's a nasty, nasty striker. Kind of has that karate-based striking style, can go in there and knock out anybody in the division. The kicks are nasty. This is a guy we've seen fight in the UFC a long time ago. Departed for a little bit, made his way back to the UFC, which I was very happy to see, because this was a guy that I was very, very intrigued to see his career play out as he became older. Let me run you guys through that real quick. Nikita Krylov, like I said, a nasty striker. Let's run the tape back on this guy, some of the things that he's done. So, in his first stint in the UFC, which, dates back all the way, back to his debut where he knocked out Walt Harris back in 2014. Did get subbed by OSP, but then went in there, took out guys like Cody Donovan, took out this guy Nedkov, getting finishes after another. Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Finishing all these guys. Francimar Barroso, Ed Herman, and then had the setback against Misha Serkinov, which that was a big fight at that point in time. If you guys remember, both those guys were really fighting for a top ranking in the division. Did lose there. Then he departed from the UFC. This is where I was very upset. Went on a 4-fight winning streak, and the UFC and him were able to work things out. Got submitted by Jan Blachowicz. Obviously, we know how talented Jan is right now. Jan, the champion. Went in there, got redemption against OSP. Got the rear naked choke there. So, he showed to be evolving his skills. Lost a split decision to Glover. We see that Glover is still very, very at the top of the game right now, and then went in there and absolutely mauled Johnny Walker with his wrestling and grappling abilities. So the point I'm making there too is, Nikita has really, really, rounded his game about. He's very nasty on the feet, has some real abilities there too, but he's been working on his ground game and whatnot, and becoming a full mixed martial arts fighter. Now, here's the thing, though. The guy that's in front of him in Magomed and Ankalaev, you guys know how high I am on him. I think Magomed is destined to be the champion of the division, or at least he'll be fighting for the belt. This guy is very well-rounded, has some real good grappling abilities, has that Sambo type of grappling. He could flip you on your head, but the striking is nasty as well. You saw he went out there, took out Ian Cutelaba for the second time in a row. The front kick on Dalcha Lungiambula was disgusting. Took out Klidson Abreu. The only loss that he had was against Paul Craig. That was that last second Hail Mary triangle that he got caught with, and he's learned from that mistake. I do believe that was kind of a fluke submission there. And now he's taking the guy Nikita. This will be the biggest victory on his resume, in my opinion. And I am expecting him to go out there and do that. I am expecting him to go out there and handle business. As high as I am on Nikita Krylov, I'm much higher on Magomed Ankalaev. Has that southpaw stance. He can hurt you with the kicks, with the punches. He could, control you against the cage. This guy's just so well-rounded. You see him handling business right there. This is a guy, like I said, I'll say it again, just keep an eye on him. This is a guy that will be fighting for the belt in the near future. I do believe that. Now, on the other side of the fence, if we want to talk about some potential victory paths for Nikita Krylov, like I said, Nikita Krylov has some nasty striking. Krylov can knock out anybody as well. So, if Krylov does connect, obviously he can put anybody out, and he can whip the legs up there. He can get a nasty head kick. He can mix something up. I think Krylov is going to want to make this a dog fight. I think he's going to want to make this, a dirty type of fight where he can maybe connect with something on the feet and try to make that happen early too. We don't want them getting too, sweaty and tired, where I think Magomed will really start to take over, and you'll start to see some of the grappling abilities that he does bring into the octagon. The line is right around -335. This guy Magomed continuously steps inside the octagon with a line right around that. So people always, pay respect to the skills that he brings to the table. In the light heavyweight division with two killers like this, you got to be careful. Krylov, like I said, man, he can shut anybody's lights out. Has a 2.5-inch reach advantage going into this fight. If Krylov can keep this fight standing and make this a purely striking matchup, I think that the odds will close a little bit. I think that they'll favor Krylov a little bit more so than a +250 line. But as far as an overall MMA game, I think Magomed will be able to mix things up, and I think this line is pretty much accurate. Maybe more around -280 to -300. Maybe we'll see some money come in on Krylov. But this is a fight that I'm very much going to be paying close attention to. And the winner of this is going to be pushing right to the top of the division. And in the division that we have a very intriguing matchup coming up, right? We got Israel Adesanya taking on Jan Blachowicz, which is very interesting. If Izzy can win that fight and control the light heavyweight division, there's some very, very intriguing matchups to come for him. But the guy to pay attention to more so is Magomed Ankalaev in this fight here. So, and a guy that should be 15-0, man, dropped the ball there. But let's make sure we're tuned into that fight. All right, boys, we made it to the main event. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, to my weekly fight predictions here. Shout out to all you guys that watch all the time, and if you guys can, please like this video, hit the subscribe button. And sorry I didn't have MMA live discussion going this week. I'm probably gonna pump out 2 MMA live discussion episodes. This upcoming week. I might do one Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see how that goes. Got some interesting guys that will be coming on the show, so stay tuned. Check out my Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _. I'll keep you guys updated with that. And what else? Yeah, man, go follow me on Instagram. If you guys want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me there, or my email, mmafortuneteller@gmail.com. And, I'm going to have some solid plays going into this card if you guys are interested in what my plays will be. I know I get a lot of messages, you guys asking this and that. And if you guys are interested in my exclusive plays, reach out to me. I'll send you guys over my pricing. Or if you guys just have any basic questions, man, I'm always here for you guys. And I love to communicate with you guys. So feel free to reach out to me. And again, much love to all you guys. Now, in the main event, we got Jairzinho, Rozenstruik taking on Ciryl Gane. Another fight where, there's some big implications for, maybe a future champion. And I'm going to say more so here with Ciryl Gane. I'm comparing Ankalaev and Gane more as the ace high in both of these fights, but very formidable opponents in both these fights, right? Rozenstruik is a dangerous striker, can go in there and shut anybody's lights off. Very, very talented, kickboxer, coming off that victory against Junior Dos Santos, lost to Francis Ngannou. You know what's interesting? If you guys were able to see the slowed down version of that fight where Francis Ngannou was charging him, believe it or not, Francis Ngannou only landed one strike out of all those strikes that he threw. He swung and missed so many strikes, but it just took that one shot that he clipped Rozenstruik with, which I think was a left hook, if I remember correctly. I forget, it might have been a right or a left hook, but one shot clipped him. That was it. And obviously the power he has is ridiculous. Can't wait to break down that Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou fight for you guys. But like I said, so besides that setback, would have been undefeated right now. Alistair Overeem did kind of outclass him in that fight before Rozenstruik finally caught Overeem. So keep an eye on that. I do expect Ciryl Gane to be the more talented striker, where I think that he'll be able to use his footwork and his overall game to be the better fighter here, whereas I think Jairzinho more so needs to connect with the big shot. He needs to shake things up. He needs to hurt Ciryl Gane and make this a dogfight, because Ciryl Gane is very technical. He showed to have some wrinkles in his game now, even coming in as a natural striker. We've seen him go in there and submit guys as well, pulled off some nice submissions here and there. What was it? He took out Dontel Mays with the heel hook after putting a clinic on him. Got the arm triangle on Rafael Pessoa. And, of course, also took out Junior Dos Santos. Both these guys have victories coming off Junior Dos Santos in their last fights. Gane's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. This guy has a freak physique, 6'4" with an 83-inch reach, which is very, very good for the division. This guy has all the makings to be a future star and a future champion. And again, this guy, originally was a striker. That's where this guy's bread and butter is. This guy is nasty on the feet. You don't see a lot of guys move the way that he does. For this size in the division, you don't see guys that are as fluid as he is, with his footwork and how calm he is in there. And I'm very high on this guy, man. And again, once again, he's coming in as a significant favorite. Pretty much any time this guy has fought in the UFC, the line has been very high. You can get him right now right around that minus 275 range. Keep in mind, this is, of course, a heavyweight fight where Rozenstruik carries some big power as well. So, if Rozenstruik can land that one big shot, obviously, he's in the fight. And it's a 5-round fight. He's going to have 25 minutes to do that if he doesn't get caught himself. So, but again, I got to lean Ciryl Gane here. Ciryl Gane, like I said, I just think that the potential is so much more with a guy in Ciryl Gane. Keep in mind, the Alistair Overeem versus Rozenstruik fight. I think that was a fight where we saw, it wasn't so much just a fluke knockout or just an early knockout to Francis Ngannou, but it was a fight where he was really kind of outclassed in that fight by Overeem. And I expect Ciryl Gane to do something very similar here, unless somebody catches one another with a big shot that changes the way things play out. If things go smoothly, Ciryl Gane will be the more fluid striker here, and he will cruise his way to a victory. And the line's kind of high, so you're going to have to maybe mix it in with the parlay with something else in the card, I think, if you're doing something there. And like I said, be careful. So some big boys throwing down there. So very excited to see the co-main event and the main event play out. Very excited for a couple fights throughout this card. Earlier in the card, some guys that, like I said, we've spoken with on the show, and I'm excited to see them try to go in there and get another victory. What else, boys? What else? You know, please, man, give me some feedback. Give me some comments here. Like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think and who you guys want to see on MMA Live Discussion. I'm still figuring stuff out, too, as far as MMA Live Discussion, if I'm going to stick with doing them on the Instagram Live and then bringing them over. I know it's not as aesthetically pleasing. Let me know what you guys think about that. Otherwise, I might bring it back to YouTube with the whole setup and whatnot, and I might start just getting that thing going weekly. We'll see how that goes. I know some people said the Instagram Live videos are a little bit more convenient for them, this and that. That's about it. I hope you guys all have an amazing week. Get your guys' week started up the right way. Make sure you guys are getting your workouts in. You guys are eating healthy. You guys are getting your bets locked in before the lines get too high. And we get a profitable, make sure we have a profitable event coming up. Yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys again. And on that note, signing out, the teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.